welcome back, and this is part 3 of making the torsion box triangles for the MGC. Now in the previous episode I cut out the triangular shapes and bent some of the sort of preliminary bends to try and get it into shape. Now in this episode we're going to cut out the holes for the torsion baffle and then attempt to bevel the edge of the holes. Now in this episode I might flip from one of the triangles to the other triangle. They are slightly different, not in their size or the hole positions, but one of them, as you probably know, has got an indent in it for the wires and fuel lines, and that indent was dealt with in number 2. But I will flip from one triangle to the other because during the editing process I got a bit confused as to which one I was working on. So as I said before, the idea is to make some flares, so cut the holes out, then make them flared, because the original ones, as far as I can see, were flared, and it also adds a bit of strength to the actual steel sheet as well. In fact, down in the left hand corner of this video you can see the other triangle with the indent already in it, and you can actually see the flares that I've made on the first one. So I'm now working on the second triangle, so theoretically I should know what I'm doing. I always find it useful, otherwise I get confused, to mark on the steel which way I intend to press the holes or make a pattern. So on that one I've just written down, in other words indicating that the press has to be pressed down, so this is the top. So I've already cut out the holes in the MDF. It's just standard 10mm MDF. It's actually wall paneling that we use in the bathroom business, which I've got a load of offcuts. It is slightly better than using ordinary MDF because it's quite a laminated finish to it, which gives just a slightly stronger edge, although I have used ordinary MDF and it's been fine. So what I'm doing here is I'm sandwiching the steel between the 2 MDF holes that I've previously cut. Now the holes obviously have to be, in the MDF, have to be slightly larger than the hole in the steel, in order to, when we press it through, to give steel to sort of flange. So I'm just running through a pilot drill through the steel, and then I'm lining up the bottom pattern. Now because I've used this pattern before on the first one that I've made, it has already got the marks for the screws to go through, so this should be fairly straightforward and it should line up quite nicely. I did wonder about running some nuts and bolts right through, like I've done on other occasions when I've used this type of pattern, but I thought this time what I'd try is just using some wood screws to hold it together, and to be honest, it really did work well. Okay, so as you can see, what I've done is I've clamped a grinder with a disc on it, with a wood disc or sanding disc, and then I've angled the it's actually a ramp, it's my motorbike ramp that I've used, and what I'm trying to do is give an angle to the plug, so the bit that pushes through to give the flare needs to be angled, sort of slightly triangular shape if you like, and I thought this was the way to do it, or at least to try and do it. And also the plug, of course, needs to be slightly smaller than the actual hole itself. So I'm using the wooden holes that have come out when I've cut the MDF, and I'm just machining the edges down to give that sort of conical shape, and making sure that it's about the right size to give me tolerance for pushing the steel through to make the flange. There you go. Probably got it a little bit tight there, so I might have to spin it round again. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that might be just a little bit tight. And as I said earlier, I will flip from working on one triangle to the other one, and this is obviously the first triangle because I've got the indentation beat out on it. You can also see the blood stains from my thumb, where I give it a slight nick, and of course once you start bleeding you can't stop. Okay, so having clamped the two patterns together and done my pilot holes, I'm just marking it all up so I know which is the top, which is the bottom, in order to clamp the steel in between. And I flip back to working onto the second triangle again, so it doesn't matter. The principle's the same with both of them anyway. I think I've got probably about 8mm on the steel, so the steel hole is about 8mm smaller than the MDF hole, and I thought that would give me a reasonable flange when we press it through. I don't think those screws are quite long enough. Or it could be that I've used the wooden pattern before and the screws have just worked themselves a bit loose, so just put some slightly bigger screws in just to keep it all a bit tight. if you don't secure the top bit down a bit, then when you press it through, I think that it would just buckle the top and you wouldn't get a nice crisp edge. Okay, so we're now moving over to the press, and we'll get the plug, pop that on the top. Now I'm using one of the other cutouts as a spacer, and also to make it a little bit stronger. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to put a brace right across the top, just to keep the pattern going down nice and square if possible. And if you look back at my other videos, I use this press a lot. I only bought it on a bit of a whim, really. I see they were relatively cheap, I don't know, 130 quid or something rather. Certainly not a lot of money, just on Fleabay. And it's been a really useful tool in all sorts of ways. I pretty much use it on every pattern or panel that I make. If you look back through my other videos, you'll see me using it quite a lot. And I've never had one before, so just bear that in mind. It's just a case of realising the scope of what the machine can do. Not just pressing, but folding and all sorts of shaping, really, or just use it as a clamp. Really good tool for the money if you've got room in the workshop. And also, my opinion would be, get a floor standing one if you can. Not a lot different in the money. If you look back on one of my first videos, I was intending to do this, use this press to press out the patterns on the floor pan that I'd made, but unfortunately it hasn't quite got enough width in between the uprights to get the floor pan in, so I ended up trying different ways to press the patterns down, which you might find quite entertaining if you watch my MGC floor pan videos. See, that hasn't got the big one, didn't quite go down square. So just to make it easy, what I've done is I'm just going to pump the pressure down at various points around the circle, just to make sure that the flange has come out relatively evenly. And please subscribe if you like my videos, want updates. It doesn't cost you any money. It really does help my channel. otherwise YouTube doesn't promote the channel. So please subscribe. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you watching the videos. I think I've got it pumped down reasonably square now. Again, I might have messed up the circle a bit as I pressed it down, but it doesn't matter because it's the last one to make. And yeah, it's stuck. Not to worry. We just dismantle it. There we go, it's got the large hole pushed out, it's not bad. Let's get the little one out. There we go. 2 flanged holes. And what I did do, and probably not shown on there, is I did just planish them round slightly with the planishing hammer just to tidy them up a little bit, but they didn't really need a lot. And there's the finished articles. I hope you liked the video. Please like if you do. Any comments, any way you think I might improve the channel or improve what I'm doing, all welcome. Just don't make it rude. And thanks for watching. Thank you.